Hi, I'm Tia Sosen. And as I was producing here, making the packages for next month's tea club, there was something I thought of that I really wanted to share with you. When I look for tea, I always look for organic, natural tea products. And the general idea of Japanese tea is what the general tea industry in Japan produces. Now, the general industry in Japan sets an ideal product to which the teas that they create have to par up to. So this ideal product is what they're going to create. And to do that, they use fertilization, blending techniques, etc. to create a product that is always the same, that has the same flavor pattern, the type of aromas, etc. Now, the producers that I work with, they work in a whole different way. They look to the tea plant and they see the traits that the tea plant has and give the tea plant the room to develop those traits of itself. Now, I thought of the analogy that when I grew up as a kid, I was always being told, you have to behave like this, or you have to become that kind of person. This is how things are done properly. And in analogy with the main tea industry, as opposed to natural organic production, or at least the producers that I work with, I thought, as a person, would you want to live your life being told you have to become this person, you have to behave in this way? You can't dye your hair, you can't grow a beard, you have to be like this. And everyone becomes sort of the same person, the same generous type of what is supposed to be a good person. Or would you want to have the people around you, your teachers, your boss, your parents, tell you, we create for you the environment in which you can develop your unique traits as a human being. And we give you the room to do the developing yourself. Because growing as a person, and for a tea bush, growing is something that you yourself do. No one can grow for you. The only thing that the people surrounding you can do is to create the environment, to create that ecosystem, to create that terroir, as it were, for you to develop and to become able to express your unique traits as a human being. It's exactly the same for a tea bush. Either the producer says, I want you to taste like this, so I'm going to feed you these things, and you have to develop in a certain way, so I'm going to mold you so that you fit in that image. Or when the producer says, no, I see that this tea bush has great capacities to become like this, develop a good aroma that is that, for example, smells of grapes, or to develop a strong flavor that that particular cultivar type of tea bush naturally does. So when a producer says, I'm going to help you develop your traits, when the people around you say, I'm going to give you the room and to protect you so that you can develop into being the person you were born to be, then you create a whole different type of person. You create a whole different type of tea, a product. And it's those producers that I basically look for. Being a person that, well, I grew up and the people around me always told me, no, you can't behave like that. No, you shouldn't get a tattoo. No, you shouldn't get piercings in your ears. I don't have. But it's always that being told you have to be like something. You have to be become the image of something, and develop into that generic type of a good person. For tea, it's the same. To be pushed to develop into being that generic type of a good tea. I think there's so much diversity, so much variety in tea bushes that exist, that I really admire what tea producers do when they protect their tea bushes. They create the environment in which those bushes can develop of their own accord and eventually become a completely unique product that is nowhere else available but in that garden, because the producer has made it available, has made it possible for those bushes to develop into what they are supposed to be, what they were born to become. And so it's a producer's job, I think, to maintain that environment in which a tea bush can safely develop, and then to harvest at the right time, and through manufacturing guide the produce that he has gathered into becoming an expression of those unique traits, of that specific character of that specific tea bush. So all the teas that I select and all the teas that I have in here in my workspace, they are teas that are produced in such a way. Producers that say, we want a product that is not created in the image of something. That is, it's a tea that is a tea, not a tea that we've fed flavor to and pushed into a certain direction so that it becomes something it is inherently not. No, it is a tea that has grown into being a unique being. And it's those teas that I want to share with you, because this way is, I think, we should also interact with other human beings. You as a person don't want to be told constantly, you can't do this, you should do that, you should be like that person. Look at him, he's doing it right, you're doing it wrong. Having to listen to that every single day of your life is exhausting. And as a person, you don't want to have that happen. Now, for a government or for an industry, it is easier to have, say, for a government, people that are all the same, because you can start systemizing things. You can put a system in place and just repeat the same process because everyone is the same. When everyone is different, you have to interact with each person in a different way. And I think that is a more humane way to work with human beings. The same goes for tea. It's easier to have a generic product, but you only really get the good out of a tea when you allow the tea bush to develop in its natural, authentic way, and to deal with it based on the specifics of that particular tea bush. And not to say, no, you're going to develop that flavor, but we don't want that. So we're going to try to make you taste like something else. It's stressful for people, and I've always had this thought, this philosophy during my life. And now I see that I look to tea in exactly the same way, because I think that is the right way to interact with people, interact with living organisms. Everyone is unique, everyone has his own unique traits. And it's the age of individuality. You respect differences. You are compassionate about the other people that are different from you, because we all can learn something from each other. And having a wide variety of tea is something that can keep us amused. It's something that we can continue on enjoying. And so, again, this analogy between tea production and the way we interact with people is something that I find very important. and that I really wanted to share with you. Now, I think this gives a lot of food for thought already, and I still have a lot of work to do for next month's tea club. So I'll get back to it. If you haven't subscribed yet for next month's tea club, there's still time to do this until the 20th of this month. So if you subscribe before the 20th, you'll get the teas for next month. And this time I'm working together with a producer who really, in an absolutely natural way, treats his bushes, looks at each of their specific traits and develops them, or allows them to develop in the way they originally are supposed to grow. And then he crafts them into a truly delicious product. So if you're looking for some really interesting tea to taste, subscribe to the tea club before the 20th of this month, and be looking forward to tasting some really interesting, unique teas.